I really like Portal 2. It's one of the best games I've ever played, and I don't say that lightly because I've played some pretty awesome games. The gaming market is, and has for a long time, been saturated by first-person shooters. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not some Facebook mum who blames violent computer games for school shootings. I actually happen to like first-person shooters, having spent a good proportion of my life on a particular one. But I do think there are too many of them, and not enough 3D games in other genres, particularly the puzzle genre. The scarcity of good 3D puzzle games may be part of the reason why I and so many other people love Portal 2 so much, but that's not the whole story by any means. The first point I would like to discuss is the mind-bending, physics-defying, central game mechanic of Portal 2, the portals. Several other games I know of have teleportation or portaling mechanics, but none of them nail it like the Portal series. As anyone sad enough to listen to all the developer commentary knows, the industrious little fellows at Valve spent a long time getting certain aspects of the portals to function the right way. Most notably, I seem to remember some guy with a funny accent complaining about how difficult it was when dealing with physics objects going through portals on planes that were not parallel or perpendicular. But honestly, the hard work was worth it in my opinion. The portal gun is fun to use and can be used in so many ways, the coolest being flings, at least in my opinion, but it can also be used in combination with other puzzle elements in endless ways, or even just to view a chamber from a different perspective. Interestingly enough, in Portal 1, when GLaDOS is instructing the player on how to do a portal fling, she gets her physics partially wrong.
Momentum, a function of mass and velocity, is conserved between portals.
As you heard, GLaDOS said that momentum is not changed by going through a portal, and this is not fully true. While it is true that the magnitude of the momentum is conserved, direction is only conserved if the portals are facing in opposite directions, which is not the case when doing flings, or indeed much else. This is because when an object goes through a portal, it exits the other side with the angle of its momentum the same, but flipped horizontally, relative to the exit portal as it was relative to the entrance portal just before it went through. Normally when doing portal flings, your momentum is roughly parallel with the normal of the portal surface, so you don't need to complicate things by making sure you flip the angle of entry correctly, but I just wanted to give a more generalized correction to GLaDOS's mistake. Now, before I lose the attention of more viewers, I'll move on to the second thing that really makes Portal 2 stand out to me, the music. A major theme, as evidenced by certain puzzle mechanics, the central game mechanic, the art style, etc., is that of science fiction, and the sort of robotic techno tone of the notes really helps to consolidate this theme. But that's not the only thing I like about the music of Portal 2. When moving fast, like on Orange Gel, the music sort of takes on another level of harmony. Another thing I like about Portal 2 is the humour in the dialogue. I'm not saying that it's particularly clever or funny, but it is a bit funny, and it takes nothing from the game. Take this example.
Good morning. You have been in suspension for 50 days. In compliance with state and federal regulations, all testing candidates in the Aperture Science Extended Relaxation Center must be revived periodically for a mandatory physical and mental wellness exercise. You will hear a buzzer. When you hear the buzzer, look up at the ceiling. Good. You will hear a buzzer. When you hear the buzzer, look down at the floor. Good. This completes the gymnastic portion of your mandatory physical and mental wellness exercise. There is a framed painting on the wall. Please go stand in front of it. This is art. You will hear a buzzer. When you hear the buzzer, stare at the art. You should now feel mentally reinvigorated. If you suspect staring at art has not provided the required intellectual sustenance, reflect briefly on this classical music. Good. Now please return to your bed.
This always brings a smile to my lips when I start a new game. It just conjures the image of a lazy scientist trying to oversimplify things ridiculously, presumably to make up for their goofy inefficiencies elsewhere, like the vacuum tube transport system or whatever they're called. Later in the game, Wheatley's classical music and page turning are quite amusing too. I could pick out examples all day, but I won't do that, because that'd be boring, and you can just play the game for yourself, if you haven't already. Now, there are quite a couple of Portal 2 spin-offs. My favourite is probably Portal Stories Mel, because it does so much just as well as Portal 2. In fact, I would say that some of the behind-the-scenes areas are even nicer than in Portal 2, and several of the tests pose an interesting challenge. The storyline is nice and solid, and although Virgil makes me cringe from time to time, I'd give it a good 9 turrets out of 10. Aperture Tag is pretty good. The idea of a paint gun is quite clever, but the level design and writing just weren't quite there. I give it 6 turrets out of 10. Now, I thought that the ending to Portal 2 was a very good ending, and a sensible point to leave Chell's story at. But somebody obviously thought otherwise and decided to make a sequel called Thinking with Time Machine, where it turns out that she hasn't really escaped and has to solve more puzzles. It's really just quite depressing, not only because they butcher the plot so that the achievement in Portal 2 is nullified, but because of the sort of conflict between the time machine and the portal gun for the place of central game mechanic. Most of the puzzles are quite unintuitive and unsatisfying, and the time machine seems like it's had its concept ripped straight out of the Talos Principle. Even the name of the game sounds like pidgin English. I give Thinking with Time Machine 2 turrets out of 10. But there is one more Portal spin-off that I think is so great, so incredible, that it deserves 10 turrets out of 10. It is Portal Bridge Constructor. Thanks for watching, bye.